all of Bastrop County. You may not live in Senate District 14, which is the district I represent, but I'm your senator. So call on me if I can be helpful to you. God bless all of you. Ride safely.
What's up, Patriots? All right. So let's get this party moving. Thank you, Senator Watson, for coming up and sharing the wealth there of information. Next, we have Attorney Millie Thompson. She's going to come in and drop some more knowledge on you.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for having me yet again. Y'all have got to be tired of hearing me speak, but I appreciate you. My name is Millie Thompson. I have the honor and privilege of representing many different men who are members of motorcycle clubs. I say that about all my clients and I mean it about them, and I'll tell you why in a second. I've been asked to speak on the First Amendment and the right to associate. I represent some men who are arrested without probable cause in violation of their Fourth and First Amendment rights on May 15th or May 17th of 2015. I don't know how to talk about the First Amendment and the right to associate without talking about some cases, so I'll mention two. The first is a case called Button, and in Button, the Supreme Court in the 60s said that law firms, lawyers, have the right to solicit business if it means changing society for the better, for the civil rights. And they mentioned the right to associate. The second case is a case called Robles, also out of the 60s, where a person who was told that the statute said that he could not work for a defense contractor if he was a member of a certain group that the government found unpopular. And the Supreme Court said that you could not condition employment based on affiliation alone. That the statute essentially made it guilty by association, and that was wrong. It violated the First Amendment. I'm not going to tell you what groups these cases belong to. I'm not going to say which unpopular groups were at issue in these cases. And the reason why is it doesn't matter. In 1960, they had no idea what kind of groups would be unpopular in 2020. And 50 years from now, we have no idea what kind of groups are going to be unpopular then. But for the clients who are fighting for First Amendment rights and fighting for the right to associate without being criminalized for merely association alone, they're doing something bigger than themselves. Just as Button and in Robles, they were fighting for the right to associate, that we can actually cite those cases in our lawsuits now. The civil rights heroes who are suing law enforcement today are doing the same. The last thing I'll say is this. When I say that I have the honor and privilege of representing people in the motorcycle community, it's because, unlike many across the population, you guys know your rights better than anybody. And you're the more likely to say that the world will not be this way within the reach of your arm compared to anyone else. And that's what civil rights is all about. And we all have to hold the line, because you never know when it's going to be our group that's unpopular. Thank you so much for having me, you guys. I hope you have a great legislative day.
You want to hear from one of your own besides me for once? Let's talk about your Calavera smoke, Nueces County DA, Mark Gonzalez.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I want to tell you that if you have not ever ridden a motorcycle, you have not lived. It was a beautiful sight coming from Hardtails in Georgetown, driving down here, seeing people of all faiths, all walk, in all color, riding as one. Can I get a hell yeah? My name is Calavera Smoke. Saludos and greetings from me, my brothers, and everyone else. And I think I'm not here to speak to you because I am a Calavera. I think I'm here to speak to you because somehow, by the grace of God, people voted me to be the district attorney in Nueces County. And you know, as we stand here today, everybody up there is listening. I promise you, they're listening to when you chant, they're listening to when you cheer, and if they don't hear you now, they should hear you once we wrap it up here. Being Americans, we have a right. Before I go into that, I didn't really write anything, but I want to recognize some people. The biker community is a beautiful community. They will give you the shirt off your back. When a man is down, they will go get you. When somebody needs help, they will provide for you, whether it's food, shelter, or clothing. And so I wanted to express my thanks to the biker community because it is a great cross-section of what America really is. You have people from, you know, Bikers for Christ, ex-military, people who served their country, and now sometimes are actually being, I guess, looked at in a bad light. So thank you to all the veterans who have served. If you are a veteran, raise your hand. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your service to Texas and your service as Americans. And as I bring up, we are all Americans. We all have a right to free speech, right? Who loves that right? Yeah. We all have a right to bear arms. Who loves that right? Yeah. But also as Texans, not only do we share in those rights, sometimes we say what? Come and take it. And so I was asked here to speak regarding a license to carry, or what used to be known as CHLs, and if you are a patch holder. And so what I want to let you know is that there has been some criticism or some enforcement that anyone with the patch is a gang member. And to their surprise, I do not feel that is true. Does anybody think that's true? And what do they say? Stuff rolls down. And so who does that affect? That affects all the independent riders. So if you feel that, if you love riding motorcycles, if you enjoy the wind, if you enjoy riding with your buddies, it affects you as well. And what I want to express to you is that the main thing that you need to do is to voice your opinion. You need to get out and vote. I know that Representative Watson said that he is your senator, he is your representative, and I want you to know that I am your DA. But I am only one man in only one county. Texas is comprised of 254 counties. That means that there are 254 different DAs. Everybody understands that ignorance is bliss, right? Anybody heard that? What does that mean? It means go meet your elected district attorney. Let them know who you are, what you do, and what you're about. Once they get to know you, once they understand where your heart is actually at, I promise you that they won't probably take any cases where a patch holder who got it through a CHL is getting arrested and now comes before his court. Sorry, court. Court. There you go. Apologize on that. But with that being said, think about it. To get a CHL, number one, you can't have a felony, right? Number two, you can't have gotten some other convictions. There are almost 21 different things on that list that allow you not to even have a CHL. Who here has a CHL? Raise your hand. Look at all the people around here that have a CHL. So what does that mean? By logic, you're not a felon. By logic, you don't have a mental issue. So for anyone to say that you are anything else besides a law-abiding citizen is only they're saying it because they're profiling you guys. So what I would suggest to you is get to know your district attorney, because in Nueces County, I promise you, anybody that has a patch and gets caught with a unlawful carrying a weapon, and that is the sole thing you have. Now, if you got some other stuff on you, I can't really. I'll see what I can do about that. But for that sole reason alone, know that you have a friend in Nueces County. And if your district attorney doesn't feel that way, guess what? Just how some people don't like me, guess what you can do? You can vote him out. So just how you exercise your right to bear arms, you can also exercise your right to vote. So I challenge many people to go voice your opinions to the senators or the representatives and tell them to think with wisdom. But with wisdom, you have to use courage, because you have to say something when you're scared that people aren't going to like it. You have to stand up when people are sitting down. And I can tell you that on behalf of me, it is an honor to speak to you guys. Get involved. If anyone has any questions for me, always feel free to let me know. One of the great things that I noticed when I was walking in the procession, it was an American Legion rider. I don't know, he's probably right there. His patch said, "I fight for my rights, do you?" And that is the most important thing that I can tell you is from a patch that I saw walking up to this beautiful Capitol in these steps. Fight for your rights, everybody. You have them, people died for them, and so don't let that go in vain. Other than that, I think that's all I got. And so thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. This is the crowd that I get most nervous about, but thank you for having me. I'm voting again in 2020. Tell your friends, elect DA Mark Gonzalez.
He said thank you. Next up, AMA, Texas Chapter, Jude.
You notice wasn't that wonderful that he didn't try to pronounce my last name? Yeah. It's always just Jude. We understand that, right? I wanted to thank y'all for allowing me to come here today and speak to you about one little part of the puzzle that we have going this session of the legislature. And I apologize at the same time because it's a nice bright day, so that is not a halo. Okay, that's just bounce. That's just bounce light. So what I want to talk to you about just briefly